Another day, Nagmahashaya went to see Sri Ramakrishna at Dakshineshwar. When he reached there, he saw the master taking rest after his meal. It was the month of May and the day was very sultry. Sri Ramakrishna asked him to fan him and then went to sleep. Nagmahashaya fanned him long and his hands became tired, but he could not stop without the master's permission. He consequently continued the task, but his hands became very heavy and he could not hold the fan any longer. Just then Sri Ramakrishna caught hold of his hand and took the fan. Referring to this incident, Nagmahashaya said, his sleep was not like that of ordinary persons. He could always remain awake. Excepting God, this state is not attainable for any aspirant or even a siddha. On one occasion, Sri Ramakrishna asked the disciple what he thought of him. In reply, Nagmahashaya said, "Through thy grace I have known that thou art God." On hearing this, Sri Ramakrishna attained samadhi and placed his right foot on Nagmahashaya's chest. The disciple at once felt a peculiar change within himself. He saw a divine light which, penetrating the animate and the inanimate objects, overflowed heaven and earth. Later, while expressing his ideas in regard to Sri Ramakrishna, he would say, "There is no necessity for praying to him for anything. He is Kalpataru. He will fulfill one's desire as he knows one's mind." Since the advent of Sri Ramakrishna, there has been a deluge which will carry everything away. He is the full manifestation of the Lord, and hitherto such a unique reconciliation of religions was not demonstrated by any other incarnation. It was at Dakshineshwar that Nagmahashaya became acquainted with Swami Vivekananda, then called Naren. He was one day seated in Sri Ramakrishna's room before the master himself when Naren entered the room uttering Shivoham, Shivoham. Sri Ramakrishna pointed to Nagmahashaya and told Naren, "He is really selfless. He does not feign it." Narendra replied, "Yes, when you say so, it cannot be otherwise." The two disciples now began to converse. Nagmahashaya, everything happens at the will of the Mother. She is the universal will itself. She does her work, but men think that they do it. Naren, I do not accept what you say, this he or she. I am the man. In me is the universe. In me it rises, floats, and then dissolves. Nagmahashaya, you have not the power even to change one black hair white. What to say of the universe? Without the will of God, not a blade of grass moves. Naren, without my will, the sun and the moon cannot move. At my will, the universe goes on like a machine. Sri Ramakrishna was hearing them. He told Nagmahashaya with a smile, Well, Naren can say so. He is like a sword unsheathed. It is not presumptuous on his part to say so. Hearing this from Sri Ramakrishna, Nagmahashaya bowed down to Naren and remained silent. Since then, he believed that Naren was no human being but Shiva himself, incarnated for the Lila of Sri Ramakrishna. Once Nagmahashaya was asked if he had seen any free soul. Nagmahashaya at once replied, I have seen Sri Ramakrishna, who was the liberator of souls, and I have also seen his foremost disciple, Swami Vivekananda, who was the incarnation of Shiva. Indeed, this was the faith that could move mountains. He would accept whatever Sri Ramakrishna said as the gospel truth. To him, even what Sri Ramakrishna said in jest had a profound significance. He would say, I was a fool. How could I know him? It so happened that Nagmahashaya one day heard his master telling one of his devotees, well, it is very difficult for doctors, lawyers, and brokers to realize religious truths. The master specially made mention of doctors and said, if the mind clings to the tiny drops of medicine, how can one conceive of the great being? About this time, Nagmahashaya used to feel disturbed during meditation, as images of his patients would flash across his mind. He therefore thought that the advice was meant for him. He then and there decided that he should not take to any calling which would be an obstacle to the realization of God. He returned home and that very day threw his medicine box and his medical books into the Ganges. After this, he took his bath in the river and came back to his house. Deen Dayal came to know that Nagmahashaya had given up his medical profession. He was much concerned and at once came down to Calcutta to request Mrs. Falls to employ his son in his place. The son was employed and the father left Calcutta for good. Nagmahashaya had not much work to do. Only now and then he had to go to Bagh Bazar or Khedepur canals for his duties. He now found ample time and opportunity to visit Dakshineshwar. He also began to prolong his period of meditation. In his house there was a nice clean place, near which was kept a jar of Ganges water. He would sit there and meditate for long hours. When he was going to Bagh Bazar for his office work, he would find out a solitary place in some garden and would sit there for meditation. One day, he had some exalted realization about which he informed his friend Suresh the next day, remarking that he had never before experienced such bliss.